We're very excited to have you here today for the launch of this unprecedented $200 million class action lawsuit that the representative plaintiffs to my right will be explaining along with their legal counsel to my left. As representatives of students and defenders of the public post-secondary education system, the Canadian Federation of Students regularly focuses on financial barriers to post-secondary education. Despite a job market that demands post-secondary education for young people today, costs to study at college or university are on the rise in Ontario. Among the costs that students face are ancillary fees, those fees that are charged for auxiliary services to enhance the student experience. The rising cost of ancillary fees have been an increasing concern for students. We've long suspected that administrators at institutions, post-secondary institutions, have been using ancillary fees as a backdoor mechanism to illegitimately increase tuition fees. These suspicions were confirmed to us as we sat on a government committee, an ancillary fee committee. At that time, we were surprised to be handed a document, which is among your materials on the right-hand side, second document in, that explains the government's own analysis on the situation. And I'll just refer to page 4. We've highlighted these passages, key passages for you to recognize exactly where the government stands on this. Information technology fees, for example, they say, despite the universal practice of charging fees and despite being an important source of revenue, ancillary fees for IT, information technology, are not currently an eligible fee. The government recognizes that these fees that are being charged are illegal, and yet they've been turning a blind eye to those fees being charged at the colleges. And you can see that among the funding sources at college institutions, ancillary fees are increasing at the fastest rate. Government funding is more or less stagnant, tuition fees on the rise, but it's ancillary fees that are rising at the fastest rate. Because of these fee increases over the years, ancillary fees make up now 23% of the overall fees that college students pay.
My name is Amanda Hassam. Feel free to call me Andy. I'm 20 years old from Cambridge, Ontario, and I'm taking advertising at Conestoga. I've struggled to pay for my education completely on my own, through saving money, working part-time jobs, and taking out loans. Each year I paid my college fees, I'd been charged ancillary fees on top of my tuition fees for things like technology enhancement, capital development, and something called student priority fees. I have no idea what I get from these fees. I never thought to question what I had been paying for or why, because I guess I never thought I really had the right to. I assumed that my school would charge me fees that were legitimate. I was really frustrated when I started to look into the matter furthermore, and I learned that some of the fees I had been paying amounted to over $400 every year and are not supposed to be charged as ancillary fees, since they relate directly to the capital cost of my education. As a student who has struggled to make ends meet, I am particularly angry because I feel that the government pretended to freeze tuition fees while allowing additional fees to be collected illegally. I feel that Premier McGuinty broke his promise to students by claiming to lock the front door on tuition fee increase while leaving the back door wide open for these hidden fees. I hope that by coming forward with this case, Dan and I will be able to help stop the collection of illegal fees and ensure that the government will enforce rules. Thank you very much.
My name's Dan Rafi. I'm 26 years old and a graduate of the Early Childhood Education program at George Brown College in Toronto. Even working 2 jobs, it will take me years to pay off my $25,000 student debt. As a student, I was very involved in my college, working with my student union and volunteering for charitable causes when I had the time. When I looked into the fees I was being charged, I was disturbed to see I was being charged ancillary fees for administration and post-secondary fees that amount to over $200 a year. None of the college administrators I questioned about this were able to tell me what these fees were for, despite the fact that every student in my college was required to pay these fees. I brought these concerns forward to the Canadian Federation of Students, where representatives helped connect me with legal counsel and the background research necessary that allowed me and Andy to put this case together. As it turns out, not only have students at George Brown College been charged illegal ancillary fees for years, but the Ontario government has been turning a blind eye to this illegal practice by all colleges in Ontario. I think students will be wondering, as I am, what kind of message our college administrators are sending students when they tell me on the one hand that we'll fail if we cheat on an assignment, but at the same time we catch them cheating on our fees. With this class action lawsuit, it is our intention to make sure that every student has been charged illegal fees is properly reimbursed and that this never happens to any other student. Thank you very much.
Yesterday, we issued a $200 million class action lawsuit against Ontario's colleges to recover illegally levied ancillary fees on behalf of thousands of Ontario college students. The representative plaintiffs in the case, as Jesse mentioned, are Amanda and Dan, but the suit isn't just about them. They are the leaders and the representatives for all college students who have been required to pay legal ancillary fees since 2004. To my knowledge, this is the first class action lawsuit of its type in our country. Legally, under the regulations and directives issued under the applicable legislation, the Colleges of Applied Arts and Technology Act, the colleges are not allowed to charge certain types of mandatory ancillary fees for services that should be included in tuition, such as fees for computers and library services. The purpose of the rule that prohibits certain kinds of ancillary fees is clear enough. It is intended to make sure that the students are protected and that colleges are not allowed to use ancillary fees to get around the rules controlling tuition fees by the simple device of calling them something else. There's no point in having rules in any society if those rules are not enforced. If the government will not enforce the rules against ancillary fees, we intend to do it for them. We have brought this lawsuit based on a number of legal principles, including the concept of unjust enrichment. The core allegation is that the colleges are not allowed to retain fees that have been illegally charged and that they must repay them to the students. We hope, of course, that it will not be necessary to take this case to the end, that the government will do the right thing and correct this problem to ensure that the illegal fees are voluntarily refunded to the students and to make sure that the colleges play by the rules in future. Thank you.
The Canadian Federation of Students proudly supports this class action lawsuit. We further call on the McGuinty government to enforce regulations on ancillary fees and stop turning a blind eye to the common practice of charging students illegal ancillary fees. Finally, I'll just say that there will be updated information on the www.stopunfairfees.ca, a repository of information for the general public, the media, and students to help combat these illegal fees that are being charged at our colleges.